Our Smithfield wasn't just Smithfield, it was life and death. That's what it was, life and death. Because just across from the meat market, there was St Bart's Hospital. Just across from Bart's was your Old Bailey Central Criminal Court on the side of Old Newgate Prison, where they used to string them up regular. So what you had in Smithfield was your 3 M's. Meat, medicine and murders.
True History of the Kelly Gang by Peter Carey is the story of the Australian outlaw Ned Kelly told in his own words.
The great thing about this story is that these little bits of action, these little bits of story that we know. But between those bits, there's all this area of unimagined dark. So what I was interested in doing was really imagining what happened in the darkness. So I would say, if you want to put a number on it, I would say it's about 98% made up. But it really respects the 2% that we know. I lost my own father at 12 years of age and know what it is to be raised on lies and silences. My dear daughter, you are presently too young to understand a word I write. But this history is for you and will contain no single lie. May I burn in hell if I speak false. God willing, I shall live to see you read these words, to witness your astonishment and see your dark eyes widen and your jaw drop when you finally comprehend the injustice we poor Irish suffered in this present age. It's about a question, really, and the question is, who are we Australians, that this man should be our greatest hero?
Jan Martel's Life of Pi is the story of a 16-year-old Indian boy who learns about life and animal behaviour from growing up in a zoo. While emigrating to Canada with his family and their animals, Pi is shipwrecked. In his lifeboat, he floats across the Pacific, the sole human survivor with only a tiger for company. This extraordinary tale shifts the boundaries of the possible and encourages its readers to believe in miracles.
What I wanted to do was, in a sense, do what religion does, which is push the limits of the believable until you're forced to make some sort of leap, a leap of faith. I think faith involves letting go. Pi, who practices 3 religions, he's a Hindu, a Muslim, and a Christian, obviously is someone who lets go a lot, who trusts that things will work out. He progresses as the ordeal goes on. He learns to adapt. In some ways, he becomes like the tiger. He learns to do what he has to do to get by, and he goes through a whole range of emotions. The worst pair of opposites is boredom and terror. Sometimes your life is a pendulum swing from one to the other. The hours last forever. You are so bored, you sink into a state of apathy, close to a coma. Then the sea becomes rough and your emotions are whipped into a frenzy. Yet even these 2 opposites do not remain distinct. In your boredom, there are elements of terror. You break down into tears. You scream. You deliberately hurt yourself. And in the grip of terror, you yet feel boredom, a deep weariness with it all. Only death consistently excites your emotions, whether contemplating it when life is safe and stale, or fleeing it when life is threatened and precious.
The Blind Assassin is about 2 sisters, Iris and Laura Chase. In 1945, Laura has driven a car off a bridge, and Iris, now 82, is telling the story behind this tragedy and also behind the publication of The Blind Assassin, which is a novel. Within the novel,
I've wrapped myself in a shawl in order to sit outside. Laid out in front of me are a cup of tea, an apple cut into quarters, and a pad of paper with blue lines on it, like men's pajamas once. I've bought a new pen as well, a cheap one. I remember my first fountain pen. How sleek it felt. The year was 1929. I was 13. Laura borrowed this pen, without asking, as she borrowed everything. and then broke it, effortlessly. I forgave her, of course. I always did. I had to, because there were only the two of us. The two of us on our thorn-encircled island, waiting for rescue. For whom am I writing this? For myself? I think not. For some stranger in the future, after I'm dead? I have no such ambition. Perhaps I write for no one. I'm not as swift as I was. My fingers are stiff and clumsy. The pen wavers and rambles. It takes me a long time to form the words. And yet I persist, hunched over, as if sewing by moonlight.
Graham Swift's Last Orders follows 4 working-class men on a drive to Margate to scatter the ashes of their old friend Jack, a butcher by trade. Throughout the journey, they are sidetracked into places and memories which explore both the power and the limitations of their tight-knit East London world.
Seems we've always known the bull in Rochester, and it's always known us. And we're all thinking the same thing. That it's a pity we just can't carry on sitting here getting slowly pickled and at peace with the world. It's a pity we're obliged to take Jack on to Margate. Because Jack wouldn't have minded, it's even what he would have wanted for us. To get sweetly slewed on his account. You carry on, lads, don't you worry about me. If he was here now, he'd be recommending it. He'd be doing the same as us. Forget them ashes, fellas. Except if he were here now, there wouldn't be no problem. There wouldn't be no obligation.
Although the main thread of the novel is this journey, which is more or less set in the present day and only occupies one day, we do move around a lot in time in the lives of the characters. We go backwards and forwards, right back to their childhoods, to the time when they first met each other, and so on. And we do see some of their involvement in some of the larger aspects of time and history.
He used to give me all that old Smithfield guff, all that Smithfield blather. How Smithfield was the true centre, the true heart of London. Bleeding heart, of course, on account of the meat. How Smithfield wasn't just Smithfield, it was life and death. That's what it was, life and death. Because just across from the meat market, there was St Bart's Hospital. Just across from Bart's was your Old Bailey Central Criminal Court on the side of Old Newgate Prison, where they used to string them up regular. So what you had in Smithfield was your 3 M's. Meat, medicine and murders.